Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Florida. And today our question comes to us from Tika Carr. And Tika has another timeline question. And unless someone surprises me, this will be our last timeline question for a while because tomorrow I plan to open an entirely different kettle of worms. But we'll deal with that tomorrow. Tonight our question is there a way to alter a timeline or to change a timeline in such a way that a traumatic event did not occur? And Tika goes on to ask, is it possible to make it so that one does not feel the effects of such a traumatic event or perhaps does not remember the traumatic event in the timeline that you are in? And of course, this is actually two different questions. The first is about changing a timeline. The second is about healing a past event. And I'm going to attempt to answer both aspects of this, and I'm going to take them backwards and start with the idea of healing past events. And of course, you can heal past events just as you would heal anything else. And there are lots of different ways to do it. But yes, if you have traumatic events in your past, you can heal them in such a way that you do not have to carry the pain of those events forward. And there are many different ways that we've talked about on the vlog, many ways that we talk about in the books, everything from a simple burning to a soul retrieval, and many other techniques of shadow work are good for addressing this sort of thing. However, if we're talking about actually changing a timeline, that's a different question. So as to the question, can you change the timeline so that the event never occurred, or so that there are no effects from it? Well, definitely you can change it so that there are no effects, but can you change it so that it never occurred? And the answer is both yes and no. I think that generally speaking, in a subjective sense, you can. You can do healing for that event that will remove its effects from your timeline, but will not necessarily remove the event itself or people's memory of it, though their memory may change. Now, the rub with this question is that if people's memories change, they won't know it. So it's a little hard to tell. Can you, however, remove it entirely? I don't know that you can remove it from an existing timeline, and I don't know that you can't, but you can change to a different timeline where it did not occur. Now, we've talked about how to change timelines before. We talk about it in the Third Degree book. And I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail in that in this vlog, but rather I'm going to go to the other part of it. How do you change the event or the effects of the event? And there are a couple of ways you can do it. When we do healing here in the present moment, and it's all really the present moment, we can do it for a person who's right in front of us or a person who's far away from us. We can do it also for an area. We can do it for an event. There are many different ways to do healing. The person, if it's a person, does not have to be in front of you. You can do a remote healing and you can do it very well. This is also true in terms of time. This is partly because it's all the present moment when we come down to the illusory nature of time, but it's also because, everything is here and now. And just as you would do a reading for a person who might be miles away, because you can key into them spiritually, you can do a healing for a person or an event that is backwards in time by keying into it spiritually in just the same way. You need something to hold on to attach to it, and then you do your healing just as you would do it. You can use the technique of soul retrieval, which is very effective, or you can use any other healing technique that you would use if the person, which in many cases would be yourself from an earlier point in your life, just as if they were there in front of you. And you would do your healing, but you would send it backwards, so to speak. And will this change people's memory that that event did or did not occur? Well, in some cases it can, but you're not necessarily going to see that. And in other cases, people will remember exactly what happened, but the effects will be different. And this can be a very powerful technique to heal past traumas that you've experienced, but you also have to allow it. And that means that you have to be willing to accept that healing, you have to be willing to let go of the effects of that trauma. And magic is actually one of the best ways to do this because it bypasses in many ways the thinking brain and works directly with the soul. So something as simple as a burning is a good way of doing this. Soul retrieval is a good way of doing this. Any form of energetic healing can be a good way of doing this. And we have dozens of these in the degree books. To give you an example, you can also take the event that you're trying to heal, personify it, and heal it as if it were a person. This is a technique we talk about in the third degree. There are all kinds of ways of doing it, but yes, it absolutely can be done. In some cases, you will change people's memories, but again, you won't necessarily know that you've done that. In most cases, however, I don't think you will see that, but you can certainly change the energetic outcomes of that situation, the emotional outcomes of that situation for yourself and for others as well. And there is a theory that any healing that is done affects not only one but all timelines and all aspects of the soul, so healing is always good. And so I would strongly recommend that this is something you should do as part of your shadow work. So, that would be my thought on the matter. I hope you find it helpful, and until next time, may you blessed be. Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you for Pagans Tonight Radio. Pagans Tonight Radio is an online radio network with different hosts and different shows 7 nights a week. There's something for every taste, including Spanish language programming on Saturday evening. Check out paganstonight.com today.